So, hey everyone. I'm really excited. We have Angie Johnson with us. And I'm just excited to see all of your faces on the call, to know that you guys are committed to leading yourself well and to being good leaders for your team. I've said it a million times, but success in this business happens because you're able to not necessarily control, but know what's going on between your ears. Because so much of this business is knowing what's going on between your ears, and knowing how to take actions that feel good, that feel certain, that feel in line with your values. And I think so much of that is knowing what your specific skills are so that you can run with those and not get caught in comparison mode, of looking left and right at people's obviously amazing skills. I was just talking to Angie about how she is the recorder. Shoot, you're muted. And I stuttered.
Recorder, you got it.
She's the recorder for the whole city of Franklin. Okay. Like, those take some serious skills that are not in my top 5, right? They're just not things that come naturally to me. And I could look over at Angie and be like, why can I not get organized? Why am I having such a hard time, with XYZ, right? Instead, and that would shut me down, right? Ultimately, that could shut me down because I'm looking left and right instead of focusing on what I do well and living and breathing into that. So I'm excited you guys are here. And also, I will say the first time, just as a brief introduction to why I'm passionate about this book, Jess had us do this years ago, and I was already a jewel. And I've mentioned this before too, but I really think we all reach this lid. Like, we reach this lid of, maybe lack of confidence in ourselves, or of like just not having enough skills. We all reach that like lid at some point. And some of us need to build those skills early on. I think we all do, but some of us come in with more than others, right? And so I think because of my social work degree, I was able to make it kind of far, like senior Ruby Jewelish level, before I started having some real crisis moments. Like, oh, okay, this is a thing, and I just realized I got caught in comparison mode. And for someone who's just starting, that might sound silly because I was at the jewel level, but it can strike at any time. It can strike when you're first starting and you're like unsure of yourself, right? Or it can also happen when you are a high achiever and you start getting these imposter type feelings of, how did I get here? And so when Jess had us do the original Strengths Finder 2.0, I was able to see myself, and it was so validating, because so many of them I had looked at as weaknesses. I had looked at them like, one of mine is adaptability, which means I'm really not the best at planning. And somebody will say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'm like, I don't know, it's not today. And that's it isn't. If you see me plan something, guys, I need you to know that is a worked on skill. Okay. But adaptability is my thing. And that means I'm down for anything, anytime, which is actually really good in this business, right? To be adaptable and work, like, go with the flow. If something goes wrong, that's okay. We'll work around it. It's kind of flexibility, right? But I looked at that as a weakness of mine instead of living into that as a strength. And so when Jess had us take this test, I had so many aha moments, and I'm hoping that you do or did as well, reading through these for yourself, of that makes so much sense why I am the way that I am. And again, being able to not see it as a weakness, but to see it as strength and to help you move forward. So Angie and I are just going to kind of tag team. I'm gonna pass it over to her. She may ask some questions. I may ask you guys some questions. We're going to try to kind of talk about how it's relevant to you, how it's relevant to you building your business. And like I said, or like I announced in the post, she's certified in this, guys. She knows the things. She's done many meetings about it, and we were talking about it before about how these meetings never really go all the same, because we try to kind of tailor. She tries to tailor it to what our specific needs are, and our business is different than other businesses. So I'm really excited to hear from you, Angie. Not just because you're a good friend, but because I'm excited to hear about your brilliance.
Brilliance. Wow. That's something. Not many people call me that one. So I'll put that one in my pocket. I'm going to hold on to it tomorrow at work.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sunny said, I am the city recorder for Franklin, Tennessee. It's kind of like a records manager. But I'm not, I'm a little atypical in that really, although I am the recorder, it's actually not my passion. So it's actually not that's the job itself is actually, there's a lot of things I don't like about my job. And there's a lot of things that are just not fun about my job. But, and we all kind of have those things in our lives where we're doing something that maybe we wish we had a different job. We wish we were in a different situation. We're like, this isn't really me. I'm not having fun. I'm not, doing my thing. And one thing when I got certified, they give you a free session with a coach. And I was kind of expressing these feelings of my own. And something she said is that she says, it's not always the job that changes or your situation that needs to change. It's how you look at it. And so understanding what you are good at and where your strengths lie, you can find those moments of brilliance in your day where you are working in your best. Okay, the job itself might not be great, but I literally get to teach this at work. And this is much more of a passion of mine than any of my actual real job. I could sit and do this all day long, but I don't get to because it's not my job. But I have the privilege of working for a city who believed in me and paid for me to get certified, and then allows me and gives me space in my job to pour into other city team members and work in my sweet space. So going back a little bit, so that's just a little bit about me and where I am. So going back a little bit just to talk about strengths in general. So some of you may have done your test a while ago and you're a little familiar, and some of you may have just recently done it. And so we'll just kind of pull back a little bit and make sure everybody's on the same page. So Don Clifton, that's Gallup, right? So it's Gallup StrengthsFinder. He created the whole StrengthsFinder system with a fantastic team of people, of course, over many years. And his passion was, his whole thing is, what if we look at and focus on what people are really good at and make them better at it, rather than focusing on what people are not good at and trying to fix that. And so he saw this whole new way of looking at things. And for myself growing up, it was, and in my early years in my career, it was always about, okay, what are you not good at? You need to get better at what you're not good at. Find out what are your weaknesses. You got to work on those things. And this was a whole new aha for me, because just like Sunny, there's so many things, even that do come out as my strengths, that I thought were not positive things about myself. And because I wasn't like somebody else, because I wasn't able to do what some other folks do. And this was really an aha thing for me to go, oh, okay, so there are things that I'm good at. Besides, there are real things that I'm good at that can do something to help other people, that can do something to make a difference in the world, that my lack of being able to do things is fine. Like, that's okay, because I don't have to be everything to everybody. And when you're talking about a team, one of the neat things about strengths is when you pull together people with a lot of different strengths, you can kind of lean on each other. I don't have empathy, and actually empathy. So empathy as a strength is the ability. I feel like I need to define it because it's different than the dictionary. Like, I can show empathy. That's not the issue. The issue is being able to walk into a room and feel the feelings that are happening. Like, actually feel, or you're talking to somebody, like I saw Lauren has empathy, and I see you're shaking your head. It's this weird superpower where they can walk into a room and it literally, like, they could feel it. I can't even imagine what that would be like. Like, I can't feel it. I literally can't. And it's funny because it's actually number 34 out of 34 strengths for me is empathy. I have zero ability to feel the feelings, but that's not how I approach a room when I walk into it. I have analytical really high on mine. It's in my top 5. So when I walk into a room, I'm not feeling feelings. I'm looking, I'm listening. And in my head, I'm naturally doing this analysis of what I'm seeing. And I'm trying to put pieces together and figure out what's going on in the room. Totally different way of approaching the same thing, of figuring out what's going on. Like that empathy, they can just feel it immediately with the people they're talking to or whatever. And I have to go through an analysis in my head and take up all sorts of cues in order to see what's happening. So it's like the way we approach the world, and it's how we see the world around us is really what these strengths do. And so what's wonderful about it is that whole thing about focusing on what are you good at? What are you naturally good at? What are your natural talents? And then figuring out how to use those and get better at those and develop those into the best version of yourself. And when you're able to really lean into those strengths, you're able to recognize ways that you can use the things that you're good at to compensate for the things that you're not great at. Like, I know I have to pay attention. I can't zone out and not pay attention to what's going on if my goal is to know how people are doing in the room. I can totally go into a room and zone out and not pay any attention whatsoever. But if my goal is to connect with people, I have to turn that on myself. It doesn't just come on to me like somebody who has that empathy where they probably can't even turn it off ever. I don't know if that's how you feel, Lauren. Like, it's just like you literally can't ever turn it off. And sometimes you probably wish you could, because it may be even overwhelming sometimes. There's a big head shake on that one. So that's the whole basis behind Clifton Strengths. And now Sunny was talking about the strengths. Yes, God bless you, Lauren. Sunny was talking about the Strengths Finder 2.0, which is the book that has the test, and it just talks about the strengths in general. And what they are, and so you can kind of see what your strengths are. But there's another book that some people may have here, and it's called Strengths-Based Leadership. And in that book and the reports that come with that one, you get some additional information, which I think could be very helpful for us here, because it talks about how you show up as a leader with the strengths that you have. And it says, you're good at doing X, Y, Z because of your strengths. And the people that have these other strengths, this is what they need. And so it gives you a lot of that kind of information. So as you learn the strengths in your team and the people that you work with, and even as you do it, as you pay attention more, you can recognize some things in people and you can go, oh, okay, there's a lot of feelings happening right here. So like, let me tune into the feelings and figure out what's going on. So that's a great one. So if you've already taken the test and you want to get the leadership reports, you can get the book and you can go onto your account at Gallup.com. And even if you took the test many years ago, you'll still have an account on there. So go ahead and log onto your account, do the forgot password if it's been a while. And you can put in the code that you'll get on the back of the leadership book. You'll be redeem a code and you go ahead and do that and you put it in there and it'll ask you if you want to take the test again or if you just want to apply it to your previous test. So that's totally up to you and if you want to take it. If you just took the test, there's no point in retaking it again. And if it's only been a few years, there may be no point in taking it again. They say that your strengths don't really change that much over time unless you've gone through some major life events. So I have a staff member of mine, she took it when she was in college, and now she's working for me. She's in her mid-20s, and she took it again. And a few things moved around for her, but everything really kind of stayed about in the same place. But things may shift a little bit, but you're going to find that it's going to stay pretty much in the same place. But you can always retake it. But they say it's probably not. Let me see. It's probably not something that you need to do at all. Let's see. Laura says, is the code available if you purchase the book on Kindle? Yes, you should. They should give you. I haven't done it on Kindle, but I know that they say that you can. That they tell you how you're going to get the code. So just make sure that that's in the instructions somewhere where they tell you what to do. So there's that one. And then there's some other books too. There's a manager book that they have that's really good. If your other job besides Plexus is managing people and really being in that kind of a role, you might even be interested in that version of it. So there's several different things. And then there's also the full 34 report. Now, it's not really recommended that you don't have to go and buy the 34 report unless your goal is to really dig into this and to really dig into this like with somebody that can kind of walk through that with you and explain some of it. Because there's a lot of information that comes in there and it can be a little confusing and well, maybe not confusing. You can easily spiral into what are not your strengths, those things in the bottom 34, and you can start worrying about those and what you're not good at again, because then they do pop up. And so it's really good if you have somebody who can, even if you want to partner up with somebody and you both want to dig into it and talk to each other about it. But really they kind of suggest that you have a coach or something to do that. Now, I'm happy to talk to everybody, and I'm not selling myself. This is Plexus. We do for each other. This is fine. If anybody really wants to get into it, just let me know. I love this. I love this so much that I've literally never charged to do any strength stuff before. So I just love doing it. And so it makes me happy to be able to help anybody who wants help. So if this is like really interesting to you and you want to dig into it a little bit more, shoot me a note and we can set up a time. We can just talk one time and we can kind of talk through it. We can talk a couple of times. It all just kind of depends on how deep you want to get into it. So just throwing that out there. It'll make my day to be able to help any of you all. So I think I'm going to pause because I've thrown a lot of information out to you. And I want to see if you guys have any questions, first of all. Not seeing any questions. So I would like, so we looked, oh, Kim said, okay. Okay. I'm going to read through some of the strengths that we have on here. So Kim Brankin, achiever, consistency, discipline, individualization, and relator. I'm sure you guys are like not surprised to see like discipline and achiever and that kind of stuff in Kim. Let's see, Kelsey, responsibility, restorative, achiever, discipline, relator. Lauren, focused, developer, empathy, futuristic, and strategic. Nice. Betsy, belief, positivity, adaptability, developer, and achiever. Lots of achievers. Laura, relator, strategic, arranger, positivity, and learner. Paige, harmony, empathy, restorative, adaptability, and connectedness. I can totally see that in you, Paige. Emily, responsibility, belief, developer, empathy. Oh, she says, oops, individualization. Sunny, individualization, positivity, learner, woo, adaptability. Woo is winning others over. So I'm sure none of you are surprised that Sunny has that one. Just her ability to talk to everybody. So you can see like there are some common, there's some people who have kind of some of the same strengths. And then there's others who have all sorts of strengths all over the place. So that's all that it's fun to see that. One thing to know too, if you have the same strength as somebody, it may show up in a completely different way. So my relator and Kim's relator can totally, it can totally show up in a different way. There'll be relator things about it, but the way that she uses her relator, which is building in the way she builds relationships, it might look different than mine. And so don't assume either that just because some of you have the same ones that you're the same, because you aren't. All your strengths kind of play off of each other and make you, whoops, as a whole. I didn't mean to do that. I am trying to, where's the chat? There it is, because I saw, yes, oh, Kim, that reminded me. So Kim asked if I see a correlation with StrengthsFinder and Enneagram. And those are my two favorite. So I feel like those are amazing pairs. Like it's amazing, it's a great partnership in a way to learn about yourself. So I don't know who all has any info. Do you know anything about Enneagram? Who knows like their number? And so several people. So an Enneagram is really, yes, I know you're a fellow one, Kim Rankin, as I am. Oh, another one. Yes. Lauren, of course, Lauren's a 2. Yes, you are. I love it. Okay, so Enneagram is the why you do what you do. Like what 2 with a wing, 3, very nice. It's very familiar. There's some people that are very familiar with Enneagram. Good deal. It's the why you do what you do. What's that motivation behind everything? It's like it's the why. And then the StrengthsFinder is the how. It's the how you approach the world, how you solve problems, how you relate to people, how you think through things. So that's the how. And then the Enneagram is the why. And I think it put those two together, and it's such a sweet picture of yourself. And it can be so encouraging to be like, I'm not weird. There's nothing wrong. Well, I might be weird, but there's nothing wrong with me. Let me correct. There's nothing wrong with me. And even though, some people, myself included, when people don't understand you when you're younger and growing up, including your family, you start to feel like there's something wrong with you. And, or they're your friend, if you're not, and maybe everybody gets the message at some point or another that there's something wrong with you, that you're not right, that you're not good enough. But these two things together can really help build some confidence in who you are and the beauty of who you are. And you are exactly how you were meant to be made. God made you just like you are for a reason. and leaning into these strengths, and then understanding why you do what you do as an Enneagram, um, can really bring about that superpower version of you, where you really do have these superpower strengths that other people just don't have and don't do. See, now you let me start rambling again. More questions. Who has questions?
I think I have a question, but it may take me a second to formulate it. So as I'm looking through the strengths based leadership, and I'm looking at the different categories of the different ones, and I'm like, I have a lot in this category, and like one in these, and then like none in this category.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm like catching myself, because this is what I do. I categorize myself to compare. And so I'm just kind of wondering if you have any advice for, and maybe it's just going to take more in-depth study of my particular strengths, but like, how do I not compare? How do I like live into it?
Yeah, I think so everybody knows, especially if you don't have that book, she's talking about the domains. So there's 4 domains of the strengths. One is relationship building, one is strategic thinking, one is influence, and one is it's getting stuff done in the word. What's the word, Sunny?
Executing.
Executing, thank you. Which is where a lot of mine lie. I don't know why I couldn't.
Oh, well, I have none of those. So
yeah. So and it is funny if you look at your whole 34, you see how all the colors go out, and you'll have one color will be way at the bottom, and that's good. Like, you don't have to be have a little bit in everything. They use those to describe, to kind of put those strengths in a category. So like woo, you have woo, and that's a relationship building theme. So in order to get things done and do things in your business and in your life and with your friendships, you lean on that ability to easily talk to other people, to enjoy just talking to random people and meet. You probably like to meet as many people as you can possibly meet. You walk in a room and you're like, oh my gosh, there's all these wonderful people I can meet. I can't wait to meet them all and talk to them all. That's kind of a stereotypical woo. But that's how Sunny connects with people. That's how she does her relationship stuff. Relators are often seen as a bit of the opposite, and that relators, the whole room, that's a lot. Like, that's overwhelming. That's not really what a relator is interested in. They look at a whole room and they go, where is there like 1 or 2 people I can meet and I can dig in and ask some good questions and really get to know them? Like, way too big of a room. It's just that like there's 1 or 2 people that I really just kind of want to talk to a couple of people, and I want to get to know them in a deeper manner. So that's just how you're attacking that. But like, I don't have a lot of influencing in mine, but that doesn't mean I can't influence people. I can influence people with my achiever and getting things done, and knowing what I'm good at. I can still use it to be influential and that kind of stuff. So it has nothing to do with your ability to execute things. It just means you're not using an executing theme to to do the things that you're trying to do. And really, you kind of look at those domains, use them more like when you're looking at a whole team. When you're trying to build a team where you're going to link arms and you're going to work together on a project or to get things done, that's when you kind of want to look and see if as a team as a whole, if you've got pieces all over. So it's about the team representing a bigger thing and not you. Like, it's not your job to be spread wide and thin. It's your job to look at what you're good at and focus in on that, because that's where your greatness lies. So don't worry about the domains, except when you are talking to your teams and you want to do something together, or you just want to kind of have fun together and go, okay, how do we match up? Like, who's good at this and who's good at that? Like, let's talk about what our teams are, what we all are as a team, and kind of see who has what. And maybe if you're going to do an online event or something like that, there's somebody who has the woo, and you're like, okay, so Sunny, do you want to be the one that welcomes everybody as they come in the room? Like, and does the little welcome. And maybe that's not something you ask of the relator. Maybe the relator has some other strengths that you rely on, kind of thing. So that's how you can look at your teams a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay. But yeah, definitely, I mean, talking more about yours in particular, there's a lot of things that we can talk about that kind of helps you to understand your own individual strengths, and then what it means to you, and then what do you do with it. So
I'm now going through this list of all of you who wrote yours down, and I'm looking for all of you who have any executing, and I'm going to use you. So just letting you know.
Exactly.
I'm going to exploit your executing skills.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I actually have a question for everyone. Like, what do any of you guys have aha moments about yourself reading through these? Like, I'd love to hear just some of your light bulb moments that you had. Like, maybe one or two of them you were like, oh my gosh, this. Anybody?
Well, confession, I haven't even started the book. Just being really honest, but I'm going to. But Angie did say something tonight, and this is probably the dumbest thing you'll hear, but I didn't know, especially when you explained empathy in that way, I didn't know other people didn't feel that way too, like when they walk into a room. And so, I can see how beneficial it is to recognize where your team is at with these, and where you are at with these, because you all are truly coming into situations, viewing and seeing and experiencing things differently. And that's helpful, when you're trying to lead a team of people and work with a group of people, to realize not everybody walks in and, has the same thoughts or ideas that you might.
Yeah, that's very good observation. A couple months ago, and I was digging into this, and there's a gazillion podcasts that Gallup has where they talk about all the strengths and all that kind of stuff, that you can totally geek out on this if you like, especially if you like to listen to things. But I was walking down the street. I took a break from work, and City Hall is right downtown. So I was walking down the street, and there's people everywhere. And I had this aha moment as I realized I was literally analyzing everything I saw and heard. Like, I caught myself literally, and I never paid attention to that before. And I was like, I'm going, okay, they're doing this and they're doing that. And like, oh, that's not going to go well for them. And I'm literally analyzing what's happening and drawing conclusions in my own head. And I got back to work, and I told my boss, I said, you don't do that, do you? And he goes, no, I don't do that. I was like, okay, so that's something I didn't realize, that not everybody walks down the street watching all the things that are happening and drawing conclusions and analyzing the situation. I was like, oh my gosh. So Lauren is perfectly correct in that whole, like, we're all different. We all experience the world in completely different ways. And sometimes recognizing that with your teams or your family, or your spouses, can help bring some patience and understanding into those relationships too, to realize they literally don't see what you're seeing, and they don't, that's just not even how they're experiencing the world, and they can't. And to ask them to experience it like you experience it, it's asking them to work in their weaknesses. So, and you may have common strengths too, but if you're asking somebody to be something that they aren't, you're asking them to work in a weakness. And I know that none of us would want to be forced to do that either. And so think about that just with everybody that you come across. I think it can help with some patience. And even if you still don't get it, you're not going to just suddenly understand, but maybe you can have a little more grace and a little less frustration. And I'm not that I'm good at it, but I try.
I can see how that would be really helpful though in parenting, especially as your kids are getting older, recognizing those things.
Definitely.
I had a little bit of an aha moment when I was looking through mine. So my number one was a relator. And like my whole life, people have always said, like, I just like you hold people so close. Like if you're one of my people, you're like my person, and I hold those people very, very close to me. And it's always been so strange to me that everybody's not like that. And I never understood like why that's something people notice about me, but now it makes sense. But one of the things that it connected with me was like the 5 love languages. Quality time is mine. And I feel like those two really go hand in hand so well, because you just want I want those very close, deep connections. And I feel that through quality time, but this makes sense on why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
So I have a question. Did somebody want to say something? Sorry, did I interrupt somebody? Okay. I have a question for everybody that I would love everybody to answer. So look through your 5 strengths, your top 5 strengths. And if you have, the top 34, you can look in your top 10 and pick out one of them that you think that you can really identify with. And I would love it if everybody would share what that one strength is that you identify with, and explain to us what that looks like for you. What does that look like in your life? How do you walk that out on a daily basis?
Well, I'll share one. One of mine was learner, and I just recently finished my doctorate degree. And I've found myself like that was such a process and like being done with it. Now I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? And I need to learn something. I've felt a little bored. Like I've read, I went to lunch with Lauren today and I was like, I've read 15 books in the last month because I'm just like, I need something to do. My brain just I actively like seek new things, and I love learning new things. And it's like, it's not even about the end result of getting that degree. It was just, I love to learn. I love the process of not knowing something and then feeling confident in it at the end. So that was mine.
I can relate to that a lot, Laura. I love learning. And I love that the distinction in it, like that it's not that you're trying to be the subject matter expert. It's just, you just want to know about all the things. Like, I just want to be learning about something new. And so I'm always reading something and learning something. But I would say mine that I connect with the most is the individualization. And I always thought that was like a social work thing, like that had been taught into me. But now that I know it's one of my strengths, like it makes a lot of sense. So, and I think that's how I build relationship with people. And also is like, I feel like maybe kind of the relator part of my woo is like, I am looking for the like uniqueness in every single person. And I just want to know what makes you tick. And so I'm looking at all people and situations, and I'm also like trying to figure out how is that going to work best for you. And so like I get frustrated with like systems that are like, everybody does this, and I'm like, but that's not gonna work for everybody. I'm like, no, like this is not gonna work for you because you think this way, and it's not gonna work for you this way. And that leads me to not executing many things because I'm like trying to make it perfect for each individual person. So that's like my connector. I feel like I'm like trying to connect with people. I want to know you. My tentacles in and like figure you out.
That's good.
Well, I'll be honest, I have not read through like what each of them means, but looking at mine, and I look at harmony as the top one, my first one, that's not shocking to me because all I want in life is peace. I can't stand for people to fight. I didn't let my kids fight. Like none of them. I just can't stand conflict. I can address a problem, but in a very nice way. I just need peace in my life. That's my first words out of my mouth every day is, God, please give me a peaceful day. So that's not shocking to me that harmony was my top one.
Yeah. Nice. Who's next?
So I would say empathy and strategic both were tops for me. But with empathy, I definitely feel like I have a lot of friends going through a lot of really hard stuff right now. And that occupies a lot of my mind, honestly. So I'm sure I don't think about that, but seeing empathy on there makes sense that I hold those things that my people are going through like close.
Yeah. Nice.
I was surprised at all of mine a little bit when I first read them, like belief, positivity. Well, not positivity because I'm pretty positive, but the rest of them until I like read into them, like what they really meant. And when I was reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, these are like every single one of them was me to a T. I'm not gonna lie. So, you know, the belief part of it, I'm like, what does that really mean? But then when I started reading, I'm like, oh yeah, 100%.
So what does belief look like for you? Because some people might not even know what that is.
Well, it's well, let me just kind of read through it here.
Yeah, you read it. Yeah.
It says you're hardwired to isolate issues ahead of you. And by nature, you might refuse to live a meaningless existence. So you need to have like a belief in everything that you do, especially within your life. And for me, I do everything I do with a purpose. And it also talks about how you tend to put other people ahead of you in your beliefs. But yeah, it was good. They're all good, but yeah, they all are 100% me to a T.
Nice.
So this was fun.
Good.
I'll jump in. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I'm in bed and I'm hiding from you all, but I'm going to just speak up. There's two, consistency and discipline kind of bubble to my top. And I find that what the strength is what is creating such chaos in my life because I don't have that. And so I'm in this internal dilemma of this is who I am, yet it's taken away from me. And so it's very interesting. I keep on saying to Dan, I'm a very unhealthy one right now because I'm about control and having things in order and predictability, and none of that is. And so it's a real internal battle of who I am and how I operate with the new reality of things. So if you could fix that, Angie, please let me know. But call me in the morning because I've already taken 2 gummies.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about it tonight, but we can sure talk about it. But Kim brings up a good point. There is something about if you're not able to find the space in your life where you are working in these really top strengths, it can really mess with you, and it can cause all sorts of frustration and depression, and also it can manifest in all sorts of ways and really make it hard to find your joy and your peace when you're just not even able to work in where your strengths are, and when you feel like, like Kim, just feeling so out of control. And of course we can talk, but the kind of the place to start with that, and I'm not saying, I mean, Kim's got an extreme case, so I'm not saying that this is easy, and I'm not saying, I don't know what anybody else is going through and where you may be struggling, and not saying this is easy, but the place to start is that I suggest, and I have found helps me, is to find a space where there's something that, like, I have achiever. I have to get certain number of things done in a day. And if I spend my whole day and I can't tell you what I did, I feel like I've wasted the entire day. I can feel like just bummed out and exhausted. And so if I can just find something little, or a few little things where I can be successful in my strengths. So finding those little pieces where, like for Kim, we won't psychoanalyze Kim at all, trust me, but finding those little pieces, for example, in a consistency, what things can we create that are consistent? What things can be consistent? And trying to, especially when you find yourself going down a negative thing and struggling, is thinking about focusing on, okay, but what is consistent? What am I? And I know, being able to control some things and some discipline, where am I? Where can I do that? Like, and creating spaces, even if it's little, creating little things, if there's like a little routine in your life that, at the end of the day, I always go through my list and I get to mark off what I've completed that was on my list. And if I didn't get to do anything on my list because it was one of those days, I'm going to remember back to something that I did. I'm going to write it on my list, and then I'm going to cross it off because I did it. Mm-mm. So, trying to search for those little nuggets of things and knowing what your strengths are, being aware that, okay, I'm not doing well. So let's think about where am I not getting to live in a strength right now, and taking some time to reflect on that and go, okay, how can I create a little space where I can live in that? And are there things I can change? Big things I can change? Are there little things I can change? And try to settle your heart and your focus on those, especially when you're feeling frustrated. I know there's folks that haven't shared yet.
I'll go. I was noticing on mine that it doesn't surprise me that responsibility was my top one, because I do feel like I'm very hold myself very accountable to things. But I kind of laughed at the part where on command it says you probably bristle when someone says we can't change that, or we've always done it that way, because it is for me. It's like once I've made up my mind, the decision is changed, and I'm like, you should change immediately to what this is, So like I feel like it's hard for me with people who waver and don't, and I'm like, nope, there it is, done. Like it's a done deal for me. So I feel like sometimes I struggle with people who cannot change their mind and then act on it.
I think all mine are explain me pretty well. Achiever, discipline, responsibility. I guess the relator was the only one that I was kind of like a little just kind of surprised a little, but I can also see it like in some aspects. So
Kelsey, did you get a chance?
My strongest was,
Oh, sorry.
that's okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, did you get a chance to click on it and read kind of about relator?
yeah, it says like just like close relationships I mean, yes, I read that, like, you like value like close relationships, but there was a couple things in there, like what I was reading, like that I just like, I don't know about that. But I think all the other ones are definitely like me to a T.
And that's a good thing to point out, Kelsey. There's the strengths, there's two reports that you get. There's a strengths insight report, and that one is specific to you, and it pulls from all of your strengths, and you get a different, your relator paragraphs will be different than my relator paragraph in that report. So there are two different reports, so keep that in mind. And then also when I teach classes, what I tell people to do is not everything in that paragraph are you going to see. And it might be because it's just not, you can't quite relate to it, or it might be that you don't recognize that in yourself yet. And so what I tell folks to do is to like underline the things that they do resonate with. Like, so, find the things that you're like, yes, this is me, this is me, this is me, this is me. And then also think about what parts of you do you want to be known for in those different strengths too. So those are two things to kind of reflect on. What do you resonate with in your different reports? And then what do you want to be known for? And then kind of step forward with that in your life and see how you can act that out and show that to people. I think Cynthia was going to talk, right?
My strongest was strategic, but when I read it in conjunction with achiever, it just describes me to a T. When I get my teeth into something, I just have to, I work at it until it is a conclusion. I mean, I could be at it 14 hours a day and I just love it. And I love the whole process. I love the elimination and filing things away as they, letting them go as they drop off. And it's to the point really that I have a hard time just like doing nothing. Like it just sitting and relaxing, doing nothing. I sit there and I'm literally just like, I got to get up and do something. I can't just sit and be. I've just got too much energy. I can't do it.
And that's great. That's a great strength to have. You have a superpower to just get some stuff done, like way more than other people do. And that's a great thing. It may drive you crazy inside your own head, but it's a superpower. Did we get, I don't think, Anne, did you get to talk?
I think it's kind of like, I haven't read the book yet or anything like that. And I remember doing it a couple years ago, but mine is kind of like walking into the room, kind of like Lauren, and just feeling like when people come in and you just have that feeling, that people are hurting. And, I think that's a big thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
So.
I want to read.
I don't know if Vicky has.
Vicky may be.
I was like, I don't know if she wants to talk. Did we miss anybody?
Kim, Jesus,
Not surprised at all. That's awesome. And honestly, I would be in bed right now if I wasn't talking to you all. So, everybody
we're really thankful that you are here?
Well, this is an easy thing for me to stay up for sure. Did everybody get to talk and share? I can't see everybody at once, so I lost track.
I think everybody said something.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh wait, Emily's coming back in. Emily didn't, but she is rejoining right now.
Okay.
Maybe. Hey, Emily, are you back?
Oh, so she's still connecting. There.
Okay. Did you want to share one of yours, Emily? Are you back now?
She may not have heard. Emily, did you want to share one of your strengths and what it show, how you show up with that? I'm not sure if she can hear.
Maybe catching up. Well, it's always so eye-opening for me to read through these. And like with Kelsey's, I was reading through some of yours because I've never seen the restorative one. I've never seen restorative before. And so I was like reading about that one. And it's not what I would have thought it was. And so if you haven't read through yours, I really recommend it. And now, Angie, that you mentioned that there's like one that's specifically to me, I'm like, I got to go back and reread them as they relate to me specifically, because that you may read it and be like, you think you know what it is, but it's like so much more complicated than just like what your brain tells you what that word means, because it's not always the dictionary definition like you mentioned.
Right.
Well, I'm just really thankful. Does anybody have anything else they want to share or thoughts before we let Angie go to bed? Emily, if you can hear us now, we do want to hear one of your strengths if your computer's working. If not, we'll catch up with you later. Nope. Anybody else?
Is the report you were talking about, is that through the website?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you log on to your account at gallup.com, there's 2 reports that will be there for you if you just took the regular one. If you did the leadership one, then there's some leadership reports.
Okay, because I just got emails and I didn't know there was a report, so I will go back and look at that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely go into your account and find your specific reports. And if you have questions or you can't find them or something like that, just message me. I can walk you through it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, poor Emily still can't hear.
Oh, responsibility. It's okay, my friend. We'll talk later. Oh, well, thank you guys for being here. You really are such a big part of my heart. And I love that I get to know you guys, and my individualization with all of you. It fuels me. So thanks for being on. Thanks for being who you are. And again, Angie, thanks so much for bringing your expertise and your brilliance.
Oh, thanks, dear. You guys all have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.